Hello and welcome to this video where I talk about my top 10 movies of 2017. Now, I'm a little bit peeved right now because I had already filmed this video, but unfortunately I accidentally deleted all that footage. So I now have to refilm, and I only have an hour because I have to leave in an hour to go and do something, and this is the only time this week I have to film, so I need to get this done now. I didn't actually watch a lot of movies this year. I think I had my goal set for like 55 movies, but I only watched 48, and most of the movies I watched I didn't really like. I thought they were kind of bad. So choosing like a top 10 was actually kind of difficult this year. Just because I didn't really like a lot of the movies I watched. So instead of honorable mentions, I'm going to do my guilty pleasure movie, and then we'll start into the top 10. My guilty pleasure movie was Descendents 2. So this is a Disney Channel original movie, and it's the sequel to Descendants, which is a movie series based off of a children's book series as well, following the children of Disney villains. And it's a very fun time. I mean, it is a children's movie and it does have its flaws, but I can't help but love it so much. I've actually watched this movie 4 times this year because I loved it that much. It's just... So I did like the first movie, Descendants, but surprisingly the sequel was better than the first movie. It's just, the music is so catchy. I thought this had a better villain, and it also just like dived in deeper with their main theme about friendship in these movies. All right, now on to number 10. And at number 10, I have The Babysitter. This is a horror comedy that's on Netflix about this boy who's like 12 years old, but he still has a babysitter. He's okay with it though because his babysitter is hot. But then one night he decides he wants to see what his babysitter does after he goes to sleep. That night he sees her and her friends murder someone in his living room. And it just kind of takes off from there. But this is like super campy, and I like when horror movies are campy because I can't take real horror movies. They scare the crap out of me. But campy horror movies scare me a little bit, but I could at least like enjoy it. But it definitely has all of like the campy horror movie tropes. It's got people thought to be dead reappearing. It's got unnecessary sex and violence. It's got really suspenseful chase scenes. Like, it's got it all. So I thought that the story was well constructed. I like that it didn't take itself too seriously. I also thought it had a really great pace. The acting was pretty good. I also really loved the soundtrack. I thought it like made it suspenseful but also made it hilarious at the same time. This is just like a really breezy, easy film to get through. At number 9, I have Nerve. And this movie is a weird, it's like a meet cute love story, but it's like in a dystopian world. And we follow V, who is a very like introverted high school girl, and she decides to join this online game that's like very high stakes, and it's all about like taking dares and people watching you take dares. So to like get out of her comfort zone, she decides to start playing this game, but then she starts realizing the game is playing her. And it's just, it's very high stakes, like high action. I thought Emma Roberts was like very relatable, and Dave Franco is also in this. He's actually part of her very first dare. Her first dare was like kiss a stranger, so she kisses him and they end up teaming up for like the rest of the game. But Dave Franco is like, he just oozes charm, like, and you can't help but fall in love with him. I mean, I pretty much fall in love with Dave Franco in any film, but like, this one was a good one to fall in love with him with. So like I said, there's a lot of dares in this movie, but it's like so dangerous but so entertaining and exciting to watch at the same time. And I really liked the cinematography too because it was very neon, and I thought that helped give a lot of the action scenes some edge, and it was really cool. At number 8, I have Moana. This is not your typical Disney story. I mean, it is a typical hero's journey type story, but I like that Disney like did not go the route of like a love story with a princess. But this is about Moana, who longs to venture outside of her like island that she lives on with her family. But of course her father tells her she can't leave, but then one day she leaves to go and try to find Maui, who is a demigod, and team up with him to try and destroy the curse that's like upon their lands. But I like that this is more about like Moana just trying to like find her way and find out who she is and just like sail her own course. See what I did there? The CGI is just absolutely stunning, and the music written by Lin-Manuel Miranda obviously is going to be amazing. It's just such a really great musical action adventure type story, and it's just one of those movies that just leaves you like so encouraged and so empowered after watching it. At number 7 we have Home Again. If you know me, you know that I love rom-coms. Rom-coms are my favorite genre to watch. I love their like very light-hearted, predictable storylines. I know the rom-coms do not get a very good rep in the film world, but I really love them. And this was one that did not get a very good rep. But no, I absolutely adored this movie. I actually even got to see an advanced screening of this and got to be interviewed for one of their commercials. And I ended up getting put into the commercial. I don't know if I'm allowed to put a clip here because it's probably copyrighted, but in that commercial I say this one line, and it still applies to right now about how I feel about the movie, but my line was, "I can't stop smiling, I loved it so much." And it's so true. Every time I like enter out of this movie, I can't stop smiling for the rest of the day, for the rest of the night. Like I can't stop smiling. I just loved it so much. I'm gonna say it again. Honestly, I can't remember any of the characters' names, but it's about Reese Witherspoon. And she's going through a separation with her husband right now. So her and her 2 kids move back to Los Angeles into her father's old home, but she runs into these 3 very young, very good-looking, aspiring filmmakers who kind of need a place to stay. So she ends up letting them stay in her guest house. And a little bit of romance starts to happen with one of them. I love the relationships in this movie. The relationships are so great between everyone. They're just so well done. And I mean, because it's not just about the love relationship, it's also about the relationship between her and her kids, and these new guys coming into her kids' lives, and like the kids and these guys' relationship, and her relationship with her husband, and it's just, there's a lot of really great relationships going on. And I think the themes of family and just like starting over really flow nicely with the story, and it's got a really great cast, and I mean, really great spoon-worthy men. Like, they are, I would marry all 3 of those men, by the way. The set looks like it's from a Pottery Barn catalog, but I don't care. I love it so much. At number 6, I have Beauty and the Beast, the live-action version, which did come out in 2017. The original Beauty and the Beast is a classic, and I really think that this did a really good job of recreating it. I don't know, they didn't really recreate, I think they just like revamped it, because they didn't change a lot of the story itself, which I really liked. A lot of their changes were more about like character personalities and like character backstory, which I really thought added a lot to the Beauty and the Beast story. It still also had all of the like original songs, but they did add, I believe, 4 new songs, my favorite definitely being Evermore. It is such an emotional song. I was crying in the audience watching that scene. Oh my god. I just thought this was a really great update to the classic, and I thought it was very well acted too, because like Dan Stevens is just phenomenal in everything he does. At number 5, I have The Edge of 17. I thought this was a very like smart and modern take on the teen coming of age comedies. This is about Nadine, who is at her like point in life at that teenager stage where she just kind of doesn't like anything, and she thinks the world is out to get her, like, you know, just the being dramatic teenager stage, and she's just kind of done with life. That's, I think, the only description I'm going to give you. So, like, she is frustrating, but she's also just like very authentic and very real, and you kind of see yourself sometimes in her, because it's like, yes, I remember being a teenager and feeling that way too. So I think that kind of helps, and I think Haley Steinfeld did a really good job of making you not hate her, but still making it like, oh my god, just make the right choices. Like, this film doesn't have a lot of like crazy plot twists or like really big dramatic things happening in it. It's just kind of like life, which again makes it very authentic, I think, and makes it very real, which is one of those things that I think makes this movie a smart movie. And I thought the cast did a really great job, because they really like upgraded the genre, which was, yeah, fantastic. At number 4, I have Captain Fantastic. This is, I think, the first movie I watched this year, and the fact that like this is still on my radar after like a year, this is a good movie. And this is also not like the typical movie I go for. This is a very like heavy drama type film. It's about a man who raises his kids and lives in the woods away from society, but then his wife dies and he has to go back to society, and like with his kids too, to kind of deal with that. But society like really challenges his ideas on parenting and living, and it's him trying to like battle with that, and it's very thought-provoking, and it's also surprisingly a warm movie too. There's also like a little bit of coming of age in there with like one of the kids. You see him like he's seen his world like in the paradise that like they all created out in the woods, and then he like goes to society, and you see him like interacting and like seeing his eyes open, and he kind of has a little coming of age story, and it's really beautiful. And I mean, the acting is just phenomenal in this movie. Viggo Mortensen definitely deserved the like Oscar nomination that he had for this movie. Number 3, I have The Big Sick. This is another rom-com, but it's not your typical rom-com in the sense that it's not a predictable movie. And also the humor is not like lighthearted humor, it's like very smart humor. I use the word smart a lot, I don't know why, but it's smart humor. This story is based off of the main actor in this movie, actually. It's based off of his true love life story that he has, of like how he met his wife. So this is about a Pakistani man who is an aspiring comedian. He meets this girl at one of his comedy shows, starts falling in love with her, but his family will not approve of her because she is white and not the typical Pakistani woman that they keep trying to set him up with. But she ends up getting into a coma, and he now has to go on like this medical journey. I don't know how else to explain this, like medical journey with her and her parents who he's never met. That's just kind of like a really cool dynamic going on. It also is kind of about him and his own family too, with like their ideas just not meshing, because his family's very more like traditional Pakistani, and he kind of wants to like branch out into the modern world and get away from that. So it's just, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of heart, and there's a lot of like big dramatic scenes, but there's also really great humor along with it too. And I think the relationships are so well constructed in this too. I mean, you think the movie is going to be about the guy and the girl, like their main love relationship happening, but it's actually mainly, I think, following the relationship between him and her parents. And it's just, it's funny. Holly Hunter and Ray Romano do such a great job as her parents. So like the acting is brilliant, and just the telling of the story was done so well. Number 2, I have The Disaster Artist. This is such a funny movie. I loved it. This is about the making of The Room, which is considered to be like the Citizen Kane of bad movies. It's considered the worst movie in the world. I have personally not seen The Room, but I've heard about it, obviously, because it's considered the worst movie in the world. And it's got such like this big cult following that it kind of did become a success. So this movie, The Disaster Artist, is mainly following the director Tommy Wiseau and like how he created this movie and like how it became such a cult success. What I love most about this movie is that it's not just a funny movie about this like story concept, but like it also is about friendship and just like following your dreams and not letting anyone stop you. It like made my heart feel like so warm and gooey inside, but I also was laughing hysterically, especially at Seth Rogen's lines. I think he had the best lines in the movie. James Franco playing Tommy Wiseau was incredible. Like, it was a spot-on performance. And I also love that this movie doesn't necessarily make fun of Tommy Wiseau. You definitely feel more like sympathetic towards him and like his need and his want to just create, and you kind of get like addicted to that feeling with him. And it's just, I mean, you do laugh at him at some points because it's just ridiculous, but you also just like really feel for him. It's just a really great movie. And like I said, I have not seen The Room, so you do not have to have seen The Room to watch this movie, because I also saw this movie with someone who has seen The Room, and we kind of like laughed at different points. So I think you just get like different things out of the movie if you've seen it or if you haven't seen it. And what's also really great is at the very end of the movie, during the credits or right before the credits, they have like side-by-side shots of the actual footage from The Room and James Franco's recreation of it. And it's like super spot on and it's so great. So I definitely would recommend seeing this movie if you can. And then last but not least, I have number one. This is so exciting. Okay, number one is Wonder Woman. So I'm not really into like superhero movies or even like the superhero culture. I do like some superhero TV shows, like for some reason I can kind of get into those a little bit, but like overall I can't really get into the culture of superheroes. But this movie kind of changed that for me. I was just in awe in the theaters watching this with my cousin. Like, it just blew my mind. The story is just so like fun and engaging, and the fight scenes are just absolutely incredible. It really got like my heart pumping and my adrenaline going. It's just, oh my god, it was such a fun time. I mean, the action was just like non-stop, but it also has like a little bit of romance in there, and like it's got some humor as well. Like it's one of those movies that just kind of has it all. The visuals, like the CGI, was absolutely stunning. The score, like the music, was perfect, and I thought the pacing was like on point and just like really kept you engaged the whole time. I mean, Wonder Woman is definitely such a great role model. She's like so badass, but you just feel like, especially as a woman walking out of that movie, you feel so empowered and like you feel like you can do anything and you can take on the world, and it's oh my god, it is so well done. I love this movie so much, and I love that it was also directed by a woman, because, you know, she understands women unlike men sometimes. But you know, it was such a great film, and I'm so happy I got the chance to watch it this year. Okay, so that is my top 10 movies of 2017. You can also check out my top 10 books and my top 10 TV shows of 2017. It's incredible. This is a really great year, and I'm so happy with my choices this year, and I can't wait for next year. Alright, I will see you guys later. Bye!